Mr. President, I come to the floor to discuss what I call the Washington exemption from Obamacare. One of the few real victories for the American people I think we had in the Obamacare debate was we actually got an amendment included in Senate consideration of the bill that said much of Washington, all members of Congress and all of our congressional staff have to go to the Obamacare exchanges for our health care, just like millions of other Americans. And we had to get it there. Now, unfortunately, I guess this was an example of what Nancy Pelosi said when she said, well, we need to pass the bill in order to understand what's in it. Because after the Obamacare statute passed, with that very clear and very specific provision in it, a lot of folks around here read it and said, oh, you know what? How are we going to deal with this? And there was a furious behind-the-scenes lobbying effort that went on for months to essentially get around that provision and the pain it would cause. The pain being subjecting members of Congress and all of our staff to the same circumstance, to the same experience as other Americans. Well, that ended with President Obama getting personally involved and the Obama administration issuing a special rule. And that rule is just an end run around the specific statutory provision. I think it's completely illegal for that reason because it is in conflict with that statutory provision. And one of the key things that rule says is, well, the statute says all official staff go to the exchange, but we really don't mean that. And so we're going to leave it up to each individual member to decide what staff are official, what staff go to the exchange or not. And as a result, there is a huge loophole that some members are using to exempt much, in some cases even all of their staff, from going to the exchange as mandated clearly by the Obamacare statute, so that we have to walk the walk of other Americans, so that we have to share in that experience. Sadly, the distinguished majority leader, Mr. Reid, is one of those members actively taking advantage of that loophole and exempting much of his staff, according to press reports. And because of that, I've written the majority leader today and asked him to answer some very important and straightforward questions about that situation. And so I think to make this point, I'll simply read this letter into the record, and was sent to the distinguished majority leader in the last several hours. Dear Majority Leader Reid, it has been reported that you are the only member of top congressional leadership, House and Senate, Democrat and Republican, who has exempted some of your staff from having to procure their health insurance through the Obamacare exchange as clearly required by the Obamacare statute. Millions of Americans are losing the health care plans and doctors they wanted to keep and are facing dramatic premium increases, all as Washington enjoys a special exemption. Given this, I ask you to publicly and in writing answer the 4 important questions below regarding your office's exemption. I will also be on the Senate floor to discuss this at approximately 4:15 p.m. today and invite you to join me there. First, how did you designate each member of your staff, including your leadership staff, regarding their status as quote-unquote official, going to the exchange, or quote-unquote not official, exempted from the exchange? Did you delegate that designation to the Senate dispersing office, which would have the effect of exempting all of your leadership staff from going to the exchange? Second, if any of your staff is designated as quote-unquote not official, exempted from the exchange, or any of those staff members receiving official taxpayer-funded salaries, benefits, office space, office equipment, or any other taxpayer support? Third, if any of your staff is designated as quote-unquote not official, exempted from the exchange, Did any of these staff members assist you in drafting or passing Obamacare into law? If so, which staff members exactly? Fourth, how are the above designations of yours consistent with the clear, unequivocal statement you made on September 12th? Quote, let's stop these really juvenile political games, the one dealing with health care for senators and House members and our staff. We are going to be part of the exchanges. That's what the law says, and we'll be part of that, close quote. I look forward to your clear written responses to these important questions. I also look forward to having fair up or down votes on the Senate floor on my show your exemptions and no Washington exemptions proposals in the new year. Sincerely, David Vitter. And I ask unanimous consent, Mr. President, to submit this as part of the record.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Mr. President, that lays it out clearly. I think this is an important debate that the American people care about. As I said in the letter, millions of Americans face real dislocation and pain under Obamacare. They're losing, in millions upon millions of cases, the health care plan they wanted to keep and that they were promised they could keep. They're losing their ability to see the doctor they love and that they were promised they could continue to see. That number in Louisiana alone is 93,000 families. They face skyrocketing premiums in many cases. And yet, as all that goes on, Washington enjoys this Washington exemption from Obamacare. And some members of Congress in particular, apparently, according to press reports, that includes the majority leader, Mr. Reid, are using this end run around the clear language of the Obamacare law and exempting much of their staff. And so I think it's incumbent on the distinguished majority leader to come clean, to answer these four very legitimate, very straightforward questions in an open, transparent, written and straightforward way. I'm sorry he couldn't join me on the floor right now to discuss it. I would welcome that conversation at any point in the near future, and I certainly look forward to his written responses to these questions. I think the American people deserve, at a very minimum, that. And I also think they deserve, at a very minimum, what I've been fighting for months, fair up or down votes on my show your exemptions proposal and no Washington exemptions from Obamacare proposal. The first is real simple. It simply mandates that every member disclose how they're handling their office. Same sorts of questions, goes to the same sort of information I'm asking directly of Senator Reid. The no Washington exemptions from Obamacare ends that end run around, ends that special status, that special treatment for Congress and our official staff, and also would put in the same category going to the exchanges with no special treatment or subsidy the president, the vice president, and their White House staff and political appointees. Unfortunately, again, the majority leader has blocked all of my attempts to simply get a vote on these matters. I'm not asking everyone to agree with me. It's a free country. But I think I deserve a vote. I think the American people deserve a debate and a vote. And so I'll continue fighting for fair up or down votes on the Senate floor on both my disclosure proposal, show your exemptions, and the ultimate fix, no Washington exemption from Obamacare. So I'll continue that work, and I look forward to the majority leader's response to this letter. Thank you, Mr. President. With that, I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call.